Welcome to the Cottoncast, where we're linking directly to Drapers offices to speak with projects editor Stephen Spear. With the current economic climate and a potential increase in retail clothing prices this autumn, how will retailers adapt to maintain customers?
Obviously, it's a really interesting question, and it's something that we talk about a lot in the Drapers offices. In fact, we've interviewed lots of consultants about just this point. One of the consultants we spoke to recently said that what will happen is that it's a natural consequence of any difficult economic time that some people just work a lot harder and some people work less hard. And the terms he put it in was that there's a sort of 20% extra input from those who are prepared to get a bit more and get their hands dirty and work a bit longer, and the ones that take a back seat tend to work around about 20% less hard. They're quite odd figures, but the point he was making was that it makes a very, very big chasm between the ones who are going to perform well and the ones who are going to perform less well. Verdict, obviously a well-known consultancy, said that there's obviously going to be a massive shakeout in the sector, so we do expect some people to not be around in, say, another 12 months' time. From the consumer point of view, there's another calculation that has to be looked at from a retailer's perspective, and that is that everyone's going to look at cost per wear. Typically, that means the middle market, the much beleaguered middle market, is expected to suffer a little bit more because customers are going to look at price compared to the amount of times they're going to wear things. At the bottom end, if it's a £4 top, it's not a problem. At the top end, they want more value for their wear.
How has the sourcing environment changed since the economic downturn?
I don't think it has changed particularly, and that's partly to do with the fact that it was a very aggressive marketplace in the first place. Already, buyers and design teams were charged with quite difficult tasks. They had to go and sort of get their suppliers down to quite serious minimums. They tried to get the costs down as far as they possibly could. They were already under a lot of pressure to try and get stuff very cheaply and very, very good quality. I don't think that's changed. I think it's maybe become a little bit sharper for them, and that means it could become a little bit more of a precarious marketplace for some mills, particularly those at the top end. They've got very, very expensive machinery. They need to get that machinery going 24 hours a day to justify it. And if they don't get the minimums they need, it's a difficult problem for them.
What do you think the main considerations are for retailers when choosing a sourcing partner then?
Again, these haven't changed particularly. I mean, they have to look at several things, and there are some things that have sharpened up recently, like ethical considerations. Mostly it's going to be things like times of delivery and just the quality with which they return their samples and how quickly they get those accurately made up. Obviously, people that we speak to, the buyers and design teams again that we speak to, what they want to do is get partnerships with suppliers that they can trust. A lot of that means it's a kind of a two-way relationship. A lot of these buying and design teams want some guidelines from their suppliers. When you have people like Cotton USA who can take buyers and design teams on trips, for example, which they do, which we saw them do recently to Turkey, and take these people away and show them lots of mills, lots of different suppliers, they can find out the capabilities, they can find out the things that they can ask for. They can then report back internally, these buyers and designers, and say, look, I'm coming under pressure to do this, but I now know what's realistic. They can learn from these trips, from these sort of guidelines. They can find out what they can get for their money and how quickly, and they can find out the sort of things that they can do which will make their own end products a bit more special.
So finally, Stephen, what are Drapers' predictions for the economic outlook for the next 12 months?
Again, a really interesting one, and one which has got the whole host of voices talking about this exact subject at the moment. Alistair Darling, we know, has said that he expects the green shoots of recovery to start to spring up this year. Other consultants we spoke to have suggested that he also sees pigs flying. They're probably right. Alistair Darling's job is obviously to inspire some confidence, so he's going to say something like that. However, 2010 is not far away, and we expect some sort of recovery by that point. Expect this recession to have a long-lasting effect. Mintel has been seen to recast all of its figures downwards for total clothing and footwear sales, and that's not just for this year or next year. That's an effect that lingers on all the way into 2013, which is as far ahead as they cast their figures. So while growth will be there and it will come back next year, it does have a long-term effect.
Well, thanks for that, Stephen, and thanks for listening to this Cottoncast.